right, good morning YouTube. I'm going to attempt to make a repair video on this bike. This is a 2004 Honda Shadow 750 Aero. This belongs to a buddy of mine. It just needs a good once over, an oil change, and a clutch. It's actually his son's bike, and his son is fixing to ride this halfway across the country to go to college. And I normally wouldn't be able to make like an actual repair video at work because I'm there to work. But here I've got as much time as I want, basically. So I thought I'd try and just shoot what to look at on a bike to give it a little quick inspection during an oil change, and what it's going to be like to put a clutch in this thing. So, important points. Make sure you've got a repair manual. If you can afford a bike, you can afford a repair manual. Even if you're not going to work on it yourself, you should have one so you've got some idea what they're doing at the shop when you do have it worked on. But if you are going to work on it yourself, you definitely need a repair manual. Don't try to rely on YouTube and Google and whatnot. Other than that, I guess let's get started. It's got plenty of tire tread. I'm not going to bother measuring the depth. These are fairly new tires. I can tell it's got more than 3/32. Yeah, you probably can't really see that. Let's get a light. We're going to check brake pads. And I don't know how well it's coming through on camera, but there's plenty of meat on that front brake pad. And there's plenty of meat on that rear brake pad as well. I like to check shift linkage. Not so much a big deal on the Hondas, but on the Harleys there's a little screw, and it's got like it pinches onto a knurled shaft, and the little screws get loose and it wears out the shaft. So I always check those on oil changes. We're gonna look. Everything looks nice and dry. This one's liquid cooled. He's got plenty of coolant. Oh, no, he's a little low on coolant. We'll top that off for him. Rear tire tread looks good. A little bit of seepage around the final drive, but not a big deal. It's not pouring out. These have drum brakes in the back, and I have had the wheels off this last summer, and I know his brakes have still plenty of meat on them in the back. So I'm not worried about that. And I'll check his air cleaner in a few minutes while the oil's draining, but that should be good too, because he hasn't put many miles on this since I serviced it last summer. The oil drain plug on this bike is right here, and it's got a spin-on filter right here. I like to make sure my drain pans are nice and clean before I drain oil. Yep, every time. Let's have a peek at the air filter real quick. These are 4mm. Just lay a rag down to set that on, so I don't scratch up his pretty air cleaner cover. There we go. Filter looks brand new, just like I expected. A little bit of oil from the breather, that's pretty normal. This one's carbureted, so it's going to smell like gas a little bit. These don't have to be super tight, you don't have to murder them, they just need to be a little bit snug. Just enough they're not going to vibrate loose, so that's plenty. There's just a little brass boss in there that's molded into the plastic, so if you over tighten them, you'll break the little threaded brass part loose and kind of ruin the air cleaner backing. And nobody likes a sticky, squeaky kickstand, so that's part of an oil change service too. I just use cable lube. It gets in there, it doesn't evaporate like some stuff does, it's nice and greasy, but it's still a nice light thin lube. And I get the ends of the springs too. There we go, nice and quiet, nice and smooth. All right, here we are set up to drain the final drive. So, pop that drain plug loose. Pop that filler plug loose. I'm just going to wipe off around this filler plug so no dirt falls in. This is fancy Honda branded, maybe not necessarily Honda branded, but motorcycle final drive oil. You can use normal automotive 80/90 synthetic if you want to, and you'll get a lot more oil changes out of a bottle of that. And it's probably cheaper, because really it's just gear oil. You don't want to use automotive engine oil in your motorcycle. It's formulated different, the additives are different. It's not made for It's not made for motorcycles. It won't do any good for your bike, especially if you've got a single sump like this where the clutch and everything's all in one sump. You'll ruin your clutches running car oil for sure. And that is drained. You don't have to murder these. It has to be tight enough to not leak and not fall out, and it doesn't have to be any tighter than that. It's just an aluminum case. If you crank it down too hard, you'll strip the threads out of it. And if you're going by the book's torque specs, it's going to have some number of inch-pounds, and I would go lower than the low end of the torque spec for that drain plug if you're going by the book's torque specs. This one just going to fill until it's up to the bottom of the threads in the filler plug. Because if we overfill it, it'll blow out the vent and make a big mess. So since we overfilled it, we'll let it come up to the top and stay there. Same with the cap, just has to be snug. It's got a rubber O-ring. If my hands will work. There we go. And that's plenty. Heat cycles will make these tighten themselves up too, so they always seem tighter coming off. There's our final drive oil done. Oh, and I need a filter wrench. I bet the appropriate one is at work. Yeah, that's way too big. The appropriate one is at work. So we'll just use some channel locks. There we go. Actually, I think I need the shallow grain pan. Yeah, I might be able to get my hand in there. There we go. And we'll let all the oil dribble out of that for a minute. And I'll go get the new filter. Whee! Before I put the oil filter on, I like to put just a little bit of oil in it. And always wet this gasket with fresh oil. And then I just roll this around until And the oil's in there. Obviously you can't fill it full because it'll be too much. It'll all pour out when you lay it sideways to screw it on, but you can put on enough to where it comes up to the threads while you're screwing it on. And it will soak through the filter and fill the can if you give it a minute. Because that way at least you're not putting the filter in totally dry, and there's a little bit of something in there when you first start it up. Now I'm going to wipe off the surface where the oil filter goes and make sure there's no dirt and crud on there. I'm going to put the cap back on this so I don't knock it over and spill it everywhere, like I've been known to do. And spin the filter on, and once you feel it hit that filter boss, 3/4 to 1 turn. You don't need to crank these down and murder them either. And that's 1 turn. That's plenty tight enough. It's not going to rattle off. It's not going to leak unless there's a problem. That's better. So dipstick down. And in there. This calls for approximately 3 quarts. So we're going to put 2.5 in and we'll check it. And then we'll start it up, make sure it doesn't leak, and then we'll check it again. Here's a half. Alright, that is just above the full mark. So it's probably still actually a little bit low. But it's full enough. You can start it up and leak check it. There's a data plate on the swing arm on most metric bikes. It'll tell you how much tire pressure they want. And this is saying 29 in the front and 36 in the rear. That seems a bit low to me. At the shop we put 36 in the front and 40 in the rear on everything. And I'm going to go 32 in the front. Probably 38 in the rear. Left turn good. Right turn good. High and low work. Horn. Brake light. Brake light. Check his engine oil one more time, and I got to top off his engine coolant. And get it down, check his rear tire pressure, and take it for a ride. Oh yeah, once that last half a quart for sure. If it needs more, he's out of luck. He only brought me 3 quarts. Coolant tank on this is back here, covering the front of the rear wheel, down underneath everything. I'm just going to use a universal any vehicle coolant. And it'll be fine, it'll love that. Mix this coolant with any coolant. Overfill it because it'll make a mess when it comes up to temperature and overflows the surge tank. And we don't want that. And it's right at the full lines, it's happy. Hope I managed to capture something usable. Here's another little tip. If you carry a pocket knife like I do, make sure it's down in your pocket before you put bikes on and off the lift, because that little clip will scratch the shit out of a gas tank. He's got a nice 90-degree tire valve on the rear tire, but it's on the wrong side. All right, I'm gonna back it out, take it for a ride, make sure there's no leaks, clean up the shop, and call him to come get his bike. I'll let you know how the ride goes after. Just wanted to add a quick couple things to this motorcycle video. This guy does actually want the oil checked with the bike upright, not on the side stand. So on the lift in the wheel vise, oil level full is full. If it's on the side stand, it's going to read low because it's leaning over and the oil is going away from the dipstick. And I also lubed up the clutch cable with that cable lube. I just forgot to get it on camera because lubing the cables is also part of the service. So that has also been done. I just didn't catch it on camera. And I'm about to go ride it, and then when I get back, I'll wipe it all down nice and get all my handprints off it and everything and make it nice and shiny and pretty. So if everything goes well on the ride and nothing's leaking when I get back, that'll probably be the end of this video. So there you go for now. I'll be back in a little bit.